Hi, this is Reg Athwal, and welcome to our channel for another one of our episodes for Family Business Experts, where I get a chance to interview an entrepreneur, an expert with global experience around the world, working with different corporations and clients who can give us their insights, ideas, and words of wisdom that can help us at either a family level or a business level, or ideally both. So today I'm joined by Gordon Tredgold, who's based in Brussels right now. I don't know whether he's based there, we'll ask him, but he's there at the moment. He travels the world. And to give you really more of a formal introduction in a few seconds, Gordon is a former corporate warrior who successfully delivered complex projects. I'm talking $100 million type projects, working with multi-million dollar departments around the world and dealing with 1,000 people at a time when it comes to leadership teams. And he's helped people save a lot of money. I know he's someone who's really driven by results. Some of the clients have seen the testimonials. He saved over $350 million and increased performance by up to 500%. He's an international speaker on leadership, employee engagement, and operational excellence. He's recognized by global gurus as the top 10 leadership expert and speaker on their famous list. And he's also worked with Forbes, Business Insider, Entrepreneur, Fortune, and many others when it comes to his blogging, his articles. I believe he's done over 1,500 blogs, which is amazing. And also he's written 4 books, and the latest book you can see on the screen there is Fast, which was a finalist in the Chartered Management Institute of Management Book of the Year. So congratulations there. He's worked with loads of big brands, including Accenture, Baxter International, American Airlines, and many, many others. So on that note, Gordon, welcome to the show. And thanks for being with us and taking time from your schedule in Brussels. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good, actually. It's a little bit, well, I was going to say it's a little bit warm, but given you're in Dubai, it's probably cold here. But yeah, for us, it's a little bit warm. But yeah, no, I'm
That's
doing
brilliant. Well,
I'm doing
I want to get straight into it with you. I've got loads of questions and hopefully leave our viewers with some good ideas.
Can I just tell you what my most popular achievement is? And my book Fast, it was finalist in Management Book of the Year. Yeah. It didn't win, and people said to me, "Were you disappointed you didn't win?" No, because I beat Alex Ferguson. The Manchester United manager's book didn't make the final five.
Well, anyone who beat him, that's a good thing, because definitely when you're an Arsenal fan. So
I'm a Leeds United supporter, so
never mind.
Yeah.
Well, we won't talk about football. We could upset a lot of people, around the world who are probably into other sports. But tell us about Fast. I mean, there's a methodology that you've got around this Fast system. Could you tell us about the 4 areas and how do they work, and what are some things that the viewers should consider when it comes to their business?
Okay, so the thing about Fast is that we talked about some of the work that I did, and before I got into performance improvement, although it's still performance improvement, I was actually involved in turnaround. So I was involved in picking up a lot of projects that were failing and underperforming. And one of the reasons I took those was, if you want to get ahead, take over something that's doing terrible and make it good, and then you stand out. Whereas if you manage something that everybody thought was going to be a success, when it is a success, you don't get any credit for it. So for me,
some people shy away from that, don't they, Gordon? Some people would not want to go into that zone because they think, well, if I do fail with that further, then that's it, it's game over. So they don't go there.
But if it's a project that everybody thinks it's going to fail anyway, when it fails, you go, yeah, we all knew that was going to happen. So the worst that can happen is that what happens is people thought would happen. So I was like, right, that's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to try and make a difference and stand out. And you talk about big companies, entrepreneurs, family businesses, and the thing about Fast is when you're doing a turnaround, you have to find out what are the things that are causing it to underperform, fail, not do as well as it should do. And what I found was that there were 4 common reasons for poor performance. And this was a lack of focus. People weren't clear about what the goals and objectives were. Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote in America. Yeah, that's nice. But to become president, you've got to win the electoral college. So she was focused on the wrong thing.
So is that what the F is in FAST?
F is about, so F is about, so it's about understanding the four reasons for failure. So a lack of focus, that's about the what's our goal, what's our objective. The A is for accountability. Do we know who's involved? Have we given them clear direction, instructions? And do we know how we're going to hold them accountable?
Right.
And if we don't do that, that's why things fail. A lack of simplicity. We have a world-class ability to overcomplicate things. And there's a really good saying from sales, but I think it applies wider. And that is, a confused mind always says no. So if I don't know how I'm going to be successful, and I'm confused about how this project will work, the easiest thing to say is, I'm not going to be involved. I'll disengage. So we've got to fix that. And then the last part is about transparency. Do we have clear visibility into what's needed? You know, if we want to have a baby, it takes 9 months. If you commit to any day less than that, you're going to fail. And a lot of times people don't know what's involved. So they'll say, oh yeah, we'll double our revenue in 3 months. Okay, well, what do you need to do to achieve that? I'm not sure.
So can I ask you, Gordon, just to come in? So we're saying focus, accountability, simplicity, and transparency. How does that work in 2020 where, you know, we're facing crisis, lots of businesses, you know, have no idea what's going to be happening, whether they're going to still be in business in 6 months' time, 9 months' time. How could you take those 4 principles and apply it right now?
Okay. So that's a great question. So when you're trying to figure out which is the first one to start with, it's always focus. Because if you don't know, if you don't know what it is you're going to do, then the how, the who, and the how far don't matter. So in where we're now in the COVID, for our teams, what we need to do is we need to give them some degree of certainty around the direction that we want to go in. Because if we say, oh my God, COVID-19, I don't know what the business is going to do. You know, where are we going to compete? What's our market? How will we do this? How will we do that? Then your teams are just going to be lost. They can't take any decision or direction.
What if the owner or the leadership team, they're struggling themselves? You know, because a lot of people are stepping into the unknown right now.
Pick a direction.
Right.
Do some things. So you and I both know Nigel Risner. You know, Nigel is a great public speaker, but has zero experience in virtual. And I was chatting with him. I was like, Nigel, virtual's the way forward. So, you know, now hitch your wagon to the virtual environment. So what is it that you can do? Where can you make some progress? And then get your teams and your resources focused on that. And you might be unsure whether it's A or B. Well, pick one of them, see how it goes. And if it goes well, continue to do that. If it doesn't go well, then okay, let's now go and try B. But we've got.
But what if it's costly, Gordon? I mean, if you take a medium to large business and they've got a path to take, but they take one path and they get that wrong, that could be costly.
It is, but doing nothing can be equally as costly, because you've still got all of, you know, if you've got a team of 100 people, for every day that you don't tell them what to do, you're losing 100 person days of effort. You're still incurring that cost, but you're not getting any benefit for it. So I'm one of these people, I would rather fail fast, you know, do the wrong thing quickly and go, you know what, that's not the right answer. Let's back up. Let's move forward and go do something. And what we know in this current time is that we are in a more virtual organization. So we need to look at the environment and think about what we can do. So one of the things that really surprised me, stunned me actually, in Brussels is that, you know, they have a very, you know, Belgian cuisine is very, Belgians love their food. They really do. And yet only half of the restaurants opened during the lockdown. Half of them just said, you know what, we're closed, locked the door and went away. The other half said, okay, we'll get delivery dudes, we'll use Uber Eats, and we'll become a delivery service. So why not do that? Why would you just close the door and think, oh, I'll just sit this out and hopefully it will come back? Because those companies that decided to go down that delivery route, not only have they been able to generate revenue, it's actually opened them to new markets. People who might never have gone into their restaurant see them on a website and go, okay, I'll pick that one.
So I get it. So it's about choosing something.
Correct.
You're gonna fail fast.
Fail fast.
Pick a lane, get cracking, off you go. Don't just stand still. Yeah. So now.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Inactivity doesn't move you towards the target.
Yeah. And then what about accountability now? Again, in a crisis situation, what would you suggest there, advise there?
So for accountability, accountability is probably one of the things that people struggle the most with. So with accountability, what we need to do is we need to hold people accountable for outcomes. And a leader's job is to put your team into a position where they can be successful. Mm-hmm. And if you want your teams to be accountable, there's a simple question that you can ask them. Do you have everything you need in order to deliver your job? When they say yes, they've accepted accountability. When they say no, do something about it. So I've just led a project for Fujitsu mm-hmm. where we had 100% virtual team. I never met a single person on the team. Mm-hmm. And when you've got people that are remote and everything's done over Zoom, Skype, whatever, then what we need to do is, just let me turn my phone off there. I could see it flashing. Once we've got teams that are virtual, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we set them up for success and hold them accountable for outcomes. So tell them what the result is you're looking for, check that they've got the tools that they need, and then leave them to get on with it and follow up, fairly regularly, once or twice a week, to see how they're doing. And if we do that, we've empowered them, we've shown them that we trust them to get on with the work, we've put them into a position where they can be successful, and most people, when they have the opportunity to be successful, will take it. Mm-hmm. I mean, who stood in front of an open goal doesn't want to just kick the ball into the back of the net? And as leaders, that's what we need to be doing. So we've got to...
Yeah, that makes sense. I get that. So that with that rhythm of a couple of days in a week, I know some people are putting task force together right now where there's daily communication for 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Again, my background is predominantly IT, and we use a lot of the Agile Framework. And in Agile, we have a daily stand-up of 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So to communicate with the team every 30 minutes, and what you're doing is you're saying, okay, this is a direction, this is the latest updates. Anybody got any issues that I need to be aware of? Yes, you have to have those meetings. But if I give you a task and you accept it, that you're going to do something in a week, I don't necessarily need to be going and asking you every 5 minutes how it's going. What I can do is, especially if you're inexperienced, I'll say, you know what, I'll touch base with you on Wednesday and see how we're going, because you should have 50% of it done by then. Come in, check with you, see how it's going. If it's going okay, great. And then I can just check Thursday, everything okay? Are we still on for that? And then Friday, are we done? So communicate to people that you're going to follow. And this does two things. One, it lets them know that they're going to be followed up on, which is a reminder to them, like, shit, I need to do this, because I don't want to be sat there going, oh, I haven't made any progress. And secondly, when we have those sessions with them, it's the accountability for me as a leader is, I'm going to do two things in our follow-up meeting. I'm going to ask you, how's it going? And if you say it's going well, I'm going to say, good job, well done. And if the answer is it's not going as great, what can I do to help you? Because as a leader, I'm accountable for the overall result. And it's
I like that, Gordon. I think I get that. I like the idea of the two meetings, because then, I've seen it with clients working with leadership teams, managers, where you get people who avoid accountability. You're having weekly rhythm, and then they go, you know what? Can we do this fortnightly? It doesn't work for us weekly. Can we do this monthly? And really, what they're doing is avoiding accountability.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And when do projects fail?
When do they fail? at the beginning?
Well, if you, they could, yeah. Well, actually, some of them fail before they've started
Yeah.
because you and I are going to have a project now where the two of us are going to have a baby within 6 months. Well, the fact that we don't have a woman between us is a little bit of a problem. Two men are not going to make that project successful. But also, as well, if we've committed to 6 months, it's failed right at the start. So projects don't fail at the end. We become aware of the failure at the end. And I've reviewed projects where they said, oh, we're now 6 months behind with a month to go. Well, when did that happen?
Got it.
It didn't happen today.
So how does simplicity now come in? Simplicity.
So this is, so let me just finish on this. So we need to do that regular beat to make sure that things are on track. And then simplicity, the power of simplicity is all about belief. So if people can see and understand how they're going to be successful, then that's going to give them the confidence that they will be successful, because people are not afraid of hard work, they're afraid of failure. And if I can see how I'm going to be successful, that can get me to do it. And I'll tell you a quick story of when I was 52. I told my two best friends, I'm going to run a marathon. And they went, whoa. Time out. Too fat, too old, too unfit. And I said, yeah, but I've got a plan. And they said, what's your plan? I said, well, I'm going to run 15 minutes a day this week. And they said, okay, you could do that. And I said, the next week, I'm going to up it to 20 minutes. And I went, okay, that'll work. And I said, the following week, I'm going to increase it to 25. And they said to me, is your plan just to increase the amount of time you run by 5 minutes? I went, yeah, but in 26 weeks, I'll be running for 4 hours, which is close enough to do a marathon. And they looked at me, and instead of, and they went from, you're too fat, you can't do this, to, we will do it with you, because they could see how we were going to be successful. And when we can show people how they'll be successful, especially if it's something that they want to do, they become inspired. Yeah. So that's the power of simplicity. And did we make the marathon easier? No, it was still 42 kilometers. But what we did was we had simplicity of understanding. And when you're dealing with experts, and again in IT, I'm dealing with experts all the time that know, network engineers, and I'll ask them a question. So how does this work? And they'll say, oh, you need a degree in network engineering to understand it. And I just turn around to them and say, well, actually, Einstein says if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it. I'm not 6 years old. Explain it to me in terms that I can understand it. And we've got to challenge our experts, because then by getting them to explain it to us in words that we can understand, confirms to us that they understand it.
That's good. I like that, Gordon. And then transparency, how does that work in a crisis?
So transparency is about understanding what's involved. So if you're now going to be leading projects where your entire team is going to be virtual, then you've got to know what's involved. That you might need to have these virtual Zoom calls. You need to know what tools you need to have set up. Gartner, who are a famous research group, they will tell you that on average projects cost 3 times their initial estimate because people didn't understand it. We all see the tip of the iceberg. What we don't see is the 3/4 of the iceberg below the water. It's like sales. Everybody sees the sales call. What they don't see is the 7 calls where you got rejected that you had to go through to get that. And sales is one of those things where I think if people had a better understanding of how many conversations you need to get into to get one sale, then they wouldn't be too concerned with the rejection, because they know that for a particular business you might need to get 5 no's to get to a yes.
Yeah, so you've got to know your ratios. Yeah, you've got to know your conversion matrix as well.
Correct. Otherwise you can get disheartened, but actually you're on track. And then the other thing about transparency, especially for businesses, is what's your profit margin? How much money are you making? What's the net margin, not gross margin? I don't care about gross margin. It's good to know, but it's about net margin. And I meet with a lot of businesses where, we're selling it for $1,000 each. And then you say, how much does it cost? And they say, I don't know. Okay, well, That's a worry. I worked for DHL in the US. We made a $1.6 billion loss because we were aggressively selling a product where we had a negative margin. So the more the salesman sold, the bigger the loss we had, because we didn't have visibility into the profit margin.
Can I ask you a question, which is, you talk about
sure.
net, let's take operating profit or gross, we're not talking gross profit, but net. But what about right now? It's about cash flow, yeah?
Yeah.
Profit is important,
king.
but people, we need, businesses need cash flow coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Cash is king.
If you go into a business right now and you see that, you're going through the FAST methodology with them, but you can see that cash flow is not there. What type of things would you start to do? What would you look out for? What advice would you give?
So I would my first question. So I coach quite a few entrepreneurs. I'm just coaching one at the moment, and they want to write a book, they want to create a training course, they want to do speaking. And my first question is, what's the fastest path to cash? Coaching. Right. Let's focus our effort on coaching. Let's generate revenue. Let's get some money in. Yes, those other things are great for the long term of the company. The long-term growth and stability of the company. And it's great to have residual income. But in order to generate that, we need cash to be able to invest it. So my question would be, what's the fastest path to cash? And what can we do to ramp up to generate that?
That's a good title for a book.
What fastest path to cash?
Yeah.
I'll just write that down.
Yeah, write that down. Yeah, that's fine. So just, everyone knows it was from this show that we created this idea. So,
I'll put you down as co-author. Right?
Yeah, no problem. Co-author is absolutely fine, and 10% royalties on the book. It's not a problem.
So we need to know. So we need to know where the money's coming from. This is the transparency of: do I know how my business works? Do I know what are my profitable products? Do I know what my sales lead time is? Because if your sales lead time is 6 months and you need cash now, then that's probably not a good thing to focus on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand their businesses well enough.
Gordon, really, really good insights. Could I jump on the Gallup thing? I know, a lot of your blogs, posts that you've got online, there's this bit that you talk about with Gallup where they did some research around, tell me if this is correct. So for every $10,000 that you spend, it's costing you $3,400 when you've got a disengaged employee. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Is that correct? But let's get into some of your other research around a disengaged employee versus a disengaged manager.
So Gallup say that on average in the US, disengagement costs between $450 and $550 billion, lost opportunity, poor product quality. And they talk about 32%. Again, this is for the US. The statistics for the world are 15%, but I'm not sure. I've lived and worked in America. I feel that people are just as engaged outside America. America's not a model for employee engagement, in my opinion. They're certainly not twice engaged. And they say that 32% of employees are engaged, 68% are disengaged. And we keep running initiatives to got to get the employees engaged. But they also do a study on management engagement. And only 30% of managers are engaged. So if you're a disengaged manager, how are you engaging your people? And I will tell you, you can't do that. You can't be dispassionate about something and make other people passionate about it. I love cricket, and I can go to anybody and try to explain to them why cricket's one of the greatest games in the world. If I don't like cricket, and I'm trying to explain to you, yeah, well, apparently lots of people really like it, but you know what? I don't really see the point in it myself.
Gordon, I would add to that by saying, having worked with lots of owners of lots of family businesses, is I would add to that, and probably want to research this myself percentage-wise, but if you've got a disengaged owner, okay, or a disengaged board who've lost their passion for the business or can't deal with the issues, have got distracted, that would have an impact, wouldn't it, on the rest
So let's just change the question for a second, because I think you've talked about this. What generation of a business is the one when the business starts to go bust?
Based on research, I mean, you've got different percentages, but typically around the third generation.
Correct. And that's where the passion and disengagement has gone. Granddad starts a business, he's passionate about it, he starts making money, it goes in, and then the next generation comes in. Maybe they don't have the same level of interest, maybe they're a little bit more comfortable financially. Then that third generation come in, and I'm just now running Granddad's business. I don't have that same level of enthusiasm. I think that's why that third generation comes in, because it comes now down to.
So here's the big question then, Gordon, whether it's an owner or a manager or employee, first of all, how do you assess disengagement? And then once how do you fix it? What do you do?
So for me, disengage. So there's a lot of people say, "Oh, what we need to do is we need to do a disengagement survey." No, we don't need to do that, because an engagement survey is me going in and saying, "Hey, how are you feeling? Blah 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 blah. Here's 50 questions." Do you know what I can do? I can go and look at your profitability, and in the corporate world, it's dead easy. So I work for a company called Henkel. You could go and look and see what Henkel's profit was in their sector, and how does that compare to every other company in their sector. And if you're below the average, then I'm going to tell you right off the bat, your teams are disengaged, because engagement drives performance. So don't look at engagement to ask whether people are engaged or not. Look at the results. Are you delivering what you should be delivering? And if you're not, that's an engagement signal. Have a look at the number of sick days that are being taken. If that's above average, you've got a disengaged team. Have a look and see whether your teams. I worked for a company, and we were a 9 to 5 company, and at 8:45 the car park was empty. At 9:10 it's full. At 4:45 the car park's full. At 5:15 the car park's empty. That's a company where people are disengaged. If you're still in the office at 8 o'clock thinking, I need to go on, but you know what? I just want to finish this last item, and there's 7 or 8 other people doing the same. That's an engaged team. So don't do an employee engagement survey. Have a look around, see what the actions of the people are, and look at your performance.
Is there any other ingredients behind that as an assessment of what is engagement and disengagement, apart from sick days? Cars are not in the car park anymore.
It's results. I would say just look at your revenue and profitability. If it's below market standard or below what you expect, that's probably a sign. But you could have someone,
Gordon, who's engaged, but they're not getting results right now.
Correct. That's right. And what we want is, we don't want engaged teams. We want highly engaged teams. And highly engaged teams are people who are committed and who are doing the work, but they know how they're going to be successful. So you could just go around to your teams and say, oh, by the way, this job you've got, do you know how you're going to be successful on that? Explain to me how you're going to generate the result. And if they say, well, they're engaged, but they're not going to be highly engaged because they're not confident about the outcome. You can see, if you watch football, when a team thinks they're going to win, they play a completely different way. There's a completely different energy. There's a completely different attitude. Liverpool just won the league yesterday. Even with 5 minutes to go at 0-0, they still had that belief that they were going to get another goal. And you see that attitude. And this is what you've got to be getting into the culture. So look at your people, ask your people, talk with your people. A highly engaged team has a different feel about it.
But there could be, Gordon, there could be potential long list. Yeah. If you start doing an assessment on a human being who's disengaged and not getting results, there'll be many things, wouldn't there, in terms of, are they in the right role? Do they enjoy what they're doing? Do they get on with their boss? Are they in the right team? Is the right team dynamics, the right environment? There's a whole bunch of stuff that we'd have to consider. Would you agree?
Yes, However, fast. We start with focus.
Yeah.
So what's the one thing that I would fix? I would look to see whether the people had a chance of being successful. Because when you're successful, when you're getting the results you're looking for, you will put up with a lot of things that you might not like. But you'll say, you know what, we're being successful, I'll keep on going. If you're not getting the results, then every one of those niggles becomes a major concern. So we can get caught up in fixing symptoms. Oh, I don't like this chair's not great. I'm not sat near a window. I'm having to work longer hours. Success, it's a great pain. It's a great painkiller, and it covers up a multitude of sins. So we need to be focusing on getting our team successful. Once you've got them successful, then you can start to look at those other things. And in my experience, most people nobody comes to work hoping that when they go home at the end of the day, they've failed. Everybody wants to be successful. And if we can give them a small taste of success and then give them the recognition for it, that feeds right into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, our feeling of self-worth, self-esteem. So ask the right questions. What can I do to make them successful?
So let's link this, Gordon, to culture, because one of your articles that I was reading, based on obviously global research, was around how many customer experience projects fail. I think it was 81%. How many digital transformational projects fail, which was 84%. And then finally, how many tech startup companies fell, which is 95%. So if you take all those percentages in 3 different areas, what happened?
Well, do you know what the number one reason for tech startup failure is? Accounts for 42%. 42% of all tech startups fail for the exact same reason.
What's that?
No market need for the product.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter how good a job you do. The fact that you've made chocolate trousers sounds great. There's just no market for it. So in those cases, this is why we need to be clear about the focus. Do we know what success looks like? Are we focused on the right things? But when people can see, so for me, the culture, it's all about getting a culture where people know what's required of them and believe they're going to be successful. One of the statistics that I find most interesting is that, and when you look at the engagement statistics, it's in a similar ballpark. And that is that on projects that failed, 75% of the time, the people involved knew day one it was going to fail. So everybody on the project knew day one this is going to fail.
Okay, so you got my head going there. What do you mean they knew?
They just said, this is never going to work. This is never going to work. So they couldn't see how they were going to be successful. So they'd already decided this is going to fail. What kind of project culture do you think that's going to create? Because I can tell you, I am a massively motivated person. But if I think something's going to fail, I've got 2 options. One, I can sit by the pool sipping pina coladas and fail, or I can work my socks off and fail. I'm by the pool sipping pina coladas. This thing's dead in the water. So this is why this is why simplicity is important, and showing people how we're going to be successful. Because when we do that and people start to feel that they're going to be successful, and we have to start creating small wins, get people used to being successful, then we can create that culture of success.
So going back, Gordon, sorry to interrupt you. So you mentioned about the tech side, about there was no need for the product.
No need for the product.
You talked about people already believing this product, we're not going to, or this project's going to fail.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the assumption that there is a need, on the assumption that we do believe that this project can be successful, and then it still fails. What's some of the other reasons now?
So some of the other reasons why they fail is that we're never going to be successful 100% of the time, but it could be that there is a market need for that product. It could be that we do see how we could be successful, but we might just have the pricing wrong. We might have issues with the supply chain. We might have issues with profitability. So it's not just a question of fixing making sure you've got the right product. You've still got to be able to run a business. And I think this is one of the things I found with a lot of entrepreneurs. They get a great idea, but they don't know how to run a business. They get into cash flow issues where they overspend, and the lead time for cash isn't there, and then they end up in cash deficit, and they can't wait until the business starts to turn a profit. Or another thing for transparency: at what point is this business going to start to go from red to green? Because every business is going to have a period where it's loss making, and then it turns around and makes money. What is that point? And if you know where that is, then you can say, okay, yep, we should be loss making. This is fine. Okay, now we're about to start making money, and then you can ride the profitability wave. But if you don't have that visibility, and it's just making loss,
Gordon, I want
you lose motivation.
With the time that we've got left,
and become disengaged and frustrated.
So with the time that we've got left, I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of great insights that you've already shared. I recommend everyone who's watching this, grab hold of Gordon's book, go to his website. All his details are in the description area. But also, I wanted to ask you about coaching, because I've interviewed lots of coaches. Yeah. You've got your life coaches, you've got executive coaches, you've got very specialized coaches. Now, I know you use the term executive coach, but I've noticed with all your endorsements, testimonials from your clients, and some of these are large companies, there's one thing in common I've seen all the way through, which is they all mention numbers. Like this person saying, okay, they worked with you with coaching and they increased their sales by $100,000, or they saved $50 million on a project. Talk us through about how you're different when it comes to executive coaching. This is really important, I think.
So for me, there's a couple of things. And there's a reason why I'm not a member of the Coaching Institute, because the Coaching Institute, it's all about asking you coach by asking questions. And you know the answers, and it's my job to get the answers out. Yeah, great. I'm not that kind of coach. I'm somebody who's often been there, done it, got the t-shirt. So if I can see something, I will tell you this is the answer. I offer coaching, so I will ask questions, but I will mentor and I will give guidance and advice where I think it's appropriate. If I've got an answer to a question that you don't have an answer to, I'll give you the answer. It's not about...
I'm glad you've said that, Gordon, because my methodology in our firm is exactly the same.
Yeah.
We pride ourselves on being executive advisors first, and we are going to give advice.
Yes.
We've got case studies, we've got tips, we've got insights to give, but also then coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Usain Bolt doesn't go to his coach and his coach says, so what do you think? How do you think? I've done the video and your knee lift's not high enough. Let's work on that. So, I'll ask a lot of questions, but I'm all about the results. So I want people to get clear on what are the results they're looking for. And a lot of time people are not sure on that. So, I'll figure that out, and then I'll try to understand what are the things that are blocking them. The interesting thing with the lady where I added 100,000 to her revenue, we were just talking and she said to me, I want to double my rates, but I can't. And I said, why not? She said, well, it's not allowed. And I said, so what's the governing body that is stopping you from doing that? She said, there isn't one. I went, brilliant. Let's double your rates then. It's like, are you sure? And I went, yeah. Well, how will we know whether it's the right thing to do? So that if people don't buy, the rates are too high.
Right.
And she went, really? I was like, yeah. So you just think I should double my rates? Yes. Could you help me? Yeah, I have a degree in mathematics. Tell me what your rate is and I'll multiply it by 2. And then we wrote it down and she said, are you sure? And I went, yes. And I worked with her, we pitched a company and they went, yeah, great, that's fine. And we pitched another company, yeah, great, that's fine.
And it goes back to what you said earlier, which is if it didn't, you'll know and you'll fail fast and then you change it.
Yeah. And she just lacked the belief and the confidence. And, for some reason she thought you couldn't do that. well, let's try it. A lot of people don't want to jump in the water. You're not going to learn to swim on the side of the pool. You at some point you've got to get wet. So I'm constantly working with people. What's the results? And I'm working with one person at the moment, and they have 10 different things they want to do. Great. Which of those things is going to generate the most money? Let's start with that. But what about the other 9 things? Well, let's get some points on the board. Let's start generating some money, some momentum, some progress, and let's start moving forward. And we work together for about, so when I coach people, I tend to do 5 sessions, because once you clear the wood out and they can say, all right, this is what I'm going to go for, and people become empowered, they start to make progress. I'm not a coach who coaches people for 12 months and, I'll see you next week. It's all about results. What are we trying to do? What are we going to do? Boom. Let's make it happen. And as I say, a lot of it, it's about clearing out, getting clarity on what we're doing, being clear about what are the steps we're going to take to make that happen, and then doing it. Once you give people that clarity, and I do that in a lot of areas, somewhere I don't have any expertise, just by asking them, so tell me what success looks like. And once we get that, then we can start to say, okay, right, now let's put the plan in place.
Really good, really good. So I always like to, at the end of every interview, Gordon, I like to squeeze out one last thing, which is, it's like, you know that this is a winning tip formula. It's a thread. It's a DNA that runs across all the work that you've done.
Yeah.
And you know this is a winner. What is that last one thing you can share?
That's fast for me. Fast. I use it on everything. If I know what I'm trying to do, if I know who's involved, if I know how I'm going to do it, and I've kept it simple, and I know the level of effort involved, my success rate goes up into the 80-90%. And when you consider that 80 to 90% of things usually fail, switching from 80% failure to 80% success is a huge bonus. So it's just about fast. Do I know what success looks like? Do I know who's involved, and have I communicated to them? Do I know how I'm going to do it, and have I kept it simple? And do I know how I'm going to measure my performance so I can see how I'm doing? Brilliant. That's my red line.
I like your style, Gordon. You're very down to earth, easy to understand, straight to the point. Really good. I love the work that you're doing, and congratulations with the success, and also the book. And everyone who's watching, thanks for watching. Please go down to the bottom to the description area, find out more about Gordon's work. All the links are there to his website, and also to connect with him on LinkedIn. And hopefully we'll see you again for one of our other episodes very, very soon. And Gordon, thank you very much, and stay safe, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. Bye for now.